Welcome back. Bees are extraordinary creatures that play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of ecosystems and supporting agriculture through pollination. Their intricate social structure, hardworking nature, and unique biological traits make them fascinating subjects of study. In today's video, we are going to look at 10 captivating facts about the life of bees you have never known before. Let's go! Number 1. Bees are master pollinators on Earth. Bees are responsible for pollinating about 75% of the world's flowering plants, including approximately 35% of global crops. Without bees, many of the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds we rely on would be scarce or non-existent. Pollination occurs when bees transfer pollen from one flower to another, enabling plants to reproduce. Bees play a fundamental role in pollination, which is essential for the reproduction of many plants. Pollination occurs when bees transfer pollen from the male part of a flower, the anther, to the female part, the stigma. This process enables fertilization, allowing plants to produce fruits, seeds, and new plants. As bees move from flower to flower collecting nectar and pollen for their own sustenance, they unintentionally transfer pollen between flowers, effectively aiding in plant reproduction. Without bees, the yield and quality of these crops would dramatically decrease, leading to potential food shortages and economic losses in agriculture. Certain plants, like almonds and blueberries, are almost entirely dependent on bees for pollination. Beyond agriculture, bees contribute to the health of natural ecosystems. Many wild plants rely on bee pollination to reproduce, which in turn provides food and habitat for various wildlife species. By supporting plant diversity, bees promote the health of entire ecosystems, creating a balance that benefits not only plants but also animals, birds, and even humans. Without bees, the intricate web of life that relies on flowering plants would be at risk, highlighting their irreplaceable role in both natural and cultivated environments. Number 2. There are over 20,000 species of bees. Though honeybees are the most well-known, there are over 20,000 different species of bees globally. These range from solitary bees to social bees, like bumblebees and stingless bees. Each species has its own unique behaviors and habitats, making the bee population incredibly diverse. These species vary greatly in size, color, behavior, and habitat. Some of the most well-known types of bees include bumblebees, which are large and furry and often live in small colonies, and solitary bees, like mason bees and leafcutter bees, which do not form large hives but instead nest individually. Each species has evolved to thrive in different environments, with unique adaptations to their surroundings, making the bee population highly diverse and widespread. Despite their differences, all bee species share a common ecological role as pollinators, although they vary in how they perform this role. Honeybees, for instance, are social bees that live in colonies and are particularly effective at pollinating crops because of their ability to travel long distances and visit numerous flowers in one foraging trip. Solitary bees, on the other hand, can be more specialized in the plants they pollinate. Number 3. Bees have a highly organized social structure. Each colony is made up of 3 main castes: the queen, worker bees, and drones. The queen's primary role is to reproduce by laying eggs, ensuring the colony's survival and growth. Worker bees, which are sterile females, are responsible for almost all the other tasks in the hive. These include foraging for food, building and maintaining the hive, caring for the queen and larvae, and defending the colony from threats. Drones, the male bees, have the sole task of mating with queens from other colonies to spread the genetic diversity of the species. This structured division of labor allows bees to efficiently manage the many complex tasks needed to sustain the colony. Worker bees, for instance, go through different phases of responsibility throughout their lives. Young workers start with cleaning the hive and feeding larvae, then progress to maintaining the hive structure by producing wax, and finally graduate to foraging outside the hive for nectar and pollen. Every bee knows its role and works together for the greater good of the colony, ensuring its survival. Number 4. Bees communicate through a waggle dance. One of the most fascinating aspects of bee behavior is how they communicate the location of food sources. Bees perform a waggle dance in the hive to inform other bees about the direction and distance of a good nectar or pollen source. The dance includes specific movements and angles that correlate with the sun's position. When a foraging bee discovers a rich source of nectar or pollen, it returns to the hive and performs a specific dance on the comb to inform other bees of the location. The waggle dance consists of a series of figure-8 movements. The direction in which the bee moves relative to the hive indicates the direction of the food source, using the position of the sun as a reference point. The duration of the waggle part of the dance signals the distance to the food. This precise form of communication allows bees to locate food sources even kilometers away from the hive. In addition to the waggle dance, bees rely heavily on chemical communication through pheromones. The queen bee emits a pheromone called the queen substance, which helps maintain harmony within the hive by preventing worker bees from laying eggs and attracting drones for mating. Worker bees also release alarm pheromones to alert the colony of danger, triggering a defensive response. Similarly, when a bee finds a new nesting site or a good food source, it releases pheromones to guide other bees to the location. These chemical signals are crucial for the hive's organization, ensuring that tasks such as foraging, defense, and reproduction run smoothly. Together, these forms of communication demonstrate the intricate ways bees share information and work collectively for the success of their colony. Number 5. A bee's lifespan varies depending on its role. The lifespan of a bee varies significantly based on its role within the hive. The queen bee has the longest lifespan among all the bees in a hive, typically living anywhere from 2 to 5 years. However, her life expectancy largely depends on the health of the hive and her ability to produce eggs. A healthy queen can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day during the peak season, and her primary role is reproduction. If the queen's egg-laying ability declines or she becomes weak, worker bees will raise a new queen. A queen can live several years because she is carefully tended to by worker bees, which feed her royal jelly and protect her from danger. Worker bees, which are sterile females, have the most variable and shortest lifespan, usually living between 6 weeks to 6 months, depending on the time of year. During the spring and summer, when they are highly active in foraging and other hive tasks, worker bees live around 6 weeks. They literally work themselves to death by flying long distances to collect nectar and pollen and performing various duties within the hive. However, during the winter, when the hive becomes less active, worker bees that are responsible for maintaining the hive and keeping it warm can live up to 5 or 6 months. Winter bees live longer because they don't expend as much energy foraging and are instead focused on survival until the next foraging season. Drones, the male bees, have a lifespan of about 8 weeks during the active season, though their survival is largely dependent on whether or not they successfully mate with a queen. Drones don't perform any hive-related tasks like foraging or cleaning. Their sole purpose is to mate with a virgin queen from another colony. Once a drone mates, he dies almost immediately. If a drone does not mate by the end of the breeding season, he is often expelled from the hive by the worker bees in preparation for winter, as they are no longer needed and consume valuable resources. In colder months, drones typically do not survive long after being driven out of the hive. Number 6. Bees have 5 eyes. A bee has 5 eyes. Bees possess 2 large compound eyes on either side of their head, which give them a broad field of vision. Additionally, they have 3 smaller ocelli, or simple eyes, on the top of their head, which help them detect light intensity. This unique visual system aids bees in navigating their environment and detecting predators. Number 7. Bees make honey as food storage. Honeybees produce honey as a food source to sustain the colony during colder months when flowers are scarce. They do not make honey expecting people to collect it and use it. Bees collect nectar, which they then break down using enzymes. Once processed, the honey is stored in hexagonal wax cells, or honeycombs, until needed. Number 8. Bees can recognize human faces. Bees have an astonishing ability to recognize human faces, which is surprising given their small brains. Despite their tiny size, bees can process visual information in ways that are more complex than once thought. Research has shown that bees use a process called configural processing to recognize faces, similar to the way humans do. This means they don't focus on individual features like eyes, nose, or mouth separately, but rather, they perceive the face as a whole pattern of arrangements and relationships between these features. In experiments, Scientists trained bees to recognize human faces by associating images of faces with a reward, such as sugar water. Over time, the bees learned to differentiate between different human faces and could even recall them later, demonstrating memory retention. Even though bees obviously don't use this skill for interacting with humans in the wild, their ability to recognize complex patterns allows them to navigate their environments effectively, identifying flowers and landmarks with similar visual cues. This ability to process and remember patterns is crucial for tasks like foraging and finding their way back to the hive. The discovery of bees recognizing human faces highlights their advanced cognitive abilities despite having relatively simple brains. It also suggests that their neural mechanisms for visual processing are more efficient than previously thought, allowing them to make rapid decisions and solve problems, which is essential for their survival in complex environments. Number 9. Bees can imitate the behaviors and characters of their owners or masters. Did you know that if a beekeeper is aggressive by nature, his bees will also be aggressive? Bees, like other animals, can exhibit behavior that seems to be influenced by the environment and the people around them, but it's important to note that their behavior is primarily driven by instinct and the needs of the hive. While bees don't imitate human behaviors in a direct sense, they can become conditioned to the presence of their beekeeper. Over time, bees can grow accustomed to the routines and scents of their beekeeper, which can result in calmer, less defensive behavior. Beekeepers who handle their hives gently, approach them regularly, and avoid sudden movements can foster a more peaceful colony. The bees, through repeated positive or neutral interactions, may become less aggressive or more tolerant of human presence. Furthermore, the temperament of a bee colony can also be influenced by the beekeeper's management practices. For example, beekeepers who keep calm, quiet environments and avoid stressors like overcrowding or frequent disturbances often have colonies with a calmer disposition. Additionally, bees raised by beekeepers who breed for gentle characteristics may show fewer defensive behaviors, like stinging or aggression. While bees operate mostly on instinct, the subtle influence of human interaction can affect their day-to-day behavior, creating a dynamic where the colony's character reflects the way it's handled and cared for by its owner. Last but not least, bees have two stomachs. Bees have two stomachs, one for digestion and another, called the honey stomach, which they use to store nectar. When they return to the hive, they transfer the nectar to other worker bees, who process it to make honey. The honey stomach, or crop, is an enlargement of the esophagus specifically designed to store nectar. When a bee collects nectar from flowers, it is stored in this specialized stomach rather than being digested immediately. The honey stomach allows bees to transport large quantities of nectar back to the hive. The nectar is mixed with enzymes in the crop, which begin the process of breaking down complex sugars into simpler ones. This partial digestion helps in the conversion of nectar into honey. The true stomach is where the bee's regular digestion occurs, handles other types of food and nutrients, including pollen and the digested nectar that the bee consumes during its lifetime. Once the bee returns to the hive, it regurgitates the nectar from the honey stomach to other worker bees. These bees then further process the nectar by evaporating much of the water content through fanning their wings and adding additional enzymes. The nectar eventually transforms into honey, which is stored in hexagonal wax cells within the hive for later use. By conclusion, the life of bees is complex and essential to the planet's ecological and agricultural health. From their sophisticated communication methods to their indispensable role as pollinators, bees are remarkable creatures worthy of protection and admiration. Understanding these facts helps emphasize the importance of safeguarding their future for the benefit of both nature and humanity. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos to come. See you soon.